heartfelt message and plea from my soul. Judgment, love, fear, home. This is a blog post that I'm about to read for you that I tried sharing to Facebook this morning, but it was flagged, even though I don't think it even mentions the election. I mean, maybe it mentions that there's going to be one that's happening, but it was flagged for no reason. So censorship, how dare we try to encourage people to love more and have fear less? Anyways, for those of you that don't read or where it's easier for you to listen to something, I really appreciate if you listen to a little bit of this. And if it doesn't resonate, then just keep going. And if it does, then listen. And I'd love to actually hear your thoughts or takeaways or response to this. Judgment. Recently, I found myself wondering why I'm so nervous and afraid of what people think after all that I've been through in my life. I came out about being raped when I was 15. I spent over 6 years in and out of legal and counseling offices and court facing my rapist, my ex-stepfather. And then another 10 plus years struggling with PTSD and mental health and all of the things that go with it. I've conquered a lot. I've faced what surely has to be my worst nightmare. Yet honor and integrity have always been very important to me, and I still worry too much about what others think. Putting not just my ex-stepfather, but also myself on trial and constantly worrying about whether I would be believed was one of the worst experiences of my life. Sometimes I think my legal experiences, the court, harassment, the offices, just all of it, was just as bad, if not worse, than actually being raped because of the pressure and harassment and stalking and all of the craziness. Once people knew, I couldn't live in denial or hiding anymore, and I had to pray and hope that the jury and community would see the truth and do right by me. Thankfully, they did, or at least tried to. The legal system itself still let me down, but that's another story. It's also why I gave up on my dream of working in the legal system and went into self-preservation mode and studied art, which I don't regret. I credit studying art and design with helping me heal. I still don't know what I'm going to do career-wise with my life, as I'm feeling very unfulfilled, but sometimes I think about art therapy or something related. I just don't have the energy or desire to go through another 4+ years of school, unless it's for a doctorate. I wish I could get everyone's voices and thoughts out of my mind, at least those that I imagine. Will people think I'm crazy if I share my spiritual experiences? Will people shun me if they know such and such? I don't want Carl, my husband, to be uncomfortable, so I better not talk about blah, blah, blah. I don't want to make so-and-so look bad, so I won't talk about the issues we're having just in case someone figures out who it is. Instead, I'll suffer in silence. I don't want to overwhelm people in person or online, so I'll spread myself out and hold back as much as I can. Well, friends, I'm a whole fucking ocean, and I've been holding back a lot. I just can't hold back anymore. All my life, I have felt this overwhelming depth of passion and compassion inside my soul that no one else seemed to openly share. I was constantly told I was too much, too passionate, too whatever, and that life's hard. I need to know my place. I need to be realistic. I need to settle. I should be happy for what I have, and so on, instead of being told to dream big and to pour my heart and passion into the world and the things that I do. I totally understand that I am too much for some people, and that is totally okay. But no one should ever tell another human being to sacrifice themselves or repress themselves for someone else's comfort. If only we were all free and encouraged to be our full and true selves. It's not my job to accommodate you. It's your job to take care of you. Instead of asking and expecting others to fit your mold of what's acceptable and comfortable, you need to curate your life and work on your boundaries and your heart. I've had a lot on my mind the past few years, as I'm sure many others have as well, and I absolutely hate that it still feels so taboo to talk about the challenges and very real human experiences that we have. Why can't we talk about sex? It's a natural part of life. Why can't we talk about alternative lifestyles, societal programming, religion and spirituality, gender issues, the war against the poor, how and why our food is being poisoned, and Big Pharma's role in keeping us reliant on them? Why can't we have a conversation about what's wrong with our country and brainstorm together on how to improve things? Marriage challenges and love. Life isn't perfect. My husband Carl and I have our own challenges and problems, and sometimes I wonder if we'll make it. But in the meantime, dear God, am I so thankful for him. I am so thankful to have a best friend and partner that's not afraid to explore the unknown and the uncomfortable. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy, but he's willing to go there. We were talking last night about some of our challenges, one big one being that he's overworked and barely present for himself or for me, which is causing a lot of unhappiness for both of us. We don't have an answer yet, but we're still talking and trying, which is a lot more than most people in this country seem willing to do. Personally, I do think we'll make it through the things challenging us, assuming Carl doesn't have a heart attack or a stroke from work exhaustion. But even if we didn't make it, we're a family. We're best friends. We love each other. And I would never regret the time we have invested in one another. Now we have a third person in our family, my boyfriend Alex, and while we are still getting used to us all living together for the time being, it has been a blessing having a third person around to help at home, to take some of the things off of both Carl and my plate. I've mentioned our open relationship status a few times online in videos, but didn't want to advertise it too much, mostly because I wanted to give Carl, Alex, and myself time to adjust. And I didn't want Carl to feel uncomfortable, but we always knew that I would be talking about it at some point, because talking about the human condition and experience and uncomfortable has always been my thing. Carl and I have been together since I was 16, 1999, and have faced a lot of challenges in our marriage, all of which have made us stronger. Personally, I welcome the challenges we face because I believe in us and in our ability to overcome anything when we work together. I often feel like Captain Kirk and Spock. Now we have a Bones or a Scotty, and we are slowly building our own crew, our own tribe. Will it last forever? I don't know, but the future doesn't matter. All that matters is the here and now. I believe that when we do our best, in the moment that we're in, that everything else will work itself out. Carl and I talked about the idea of an open marriage for over 8 years before finally deciding to give it a try. There have been a lot of growing pains, but we've also experienced a lot of growth. And it's made our relationship stronger in some areas. Now, does an open relationship solve all our marriage issues? No, it doesn't. But it's helped give me the emotional support I need to help me sustain me as I continue to try to help Carl with his own struggles. Facing fears. In my head, I hear people saying, why not just divorce? Why drag things out? Your marriage is doomed, and so on. But I remind myself that these are the same people that would give up the first time something goes wrong. Carl and I aren't like that. Sometimes I wonder about people who have divorced or broken up, that had bad relationships with their partners, do all kinds of things to defame or sabotage them. I find it hard to believe that those people, at least the one being toxic, ever actually loved one another. I try to tell myself that some of these people are just so hurt they can't see through their own pain and are lashing out, but my heart still doesn't understand. Carl and I love each other so much that we're willing to fight for one another, including fighting our own fears about what others might think and societal programming. We're willing to go down the road less traveled in order to support one another. For me, love isn't something that dies. It doesn't fade. It doesn't diminish. There's no scarcity to it. Love is eternal. Love is unbreakable. Once you have it, you can never unhave it. Sure, it might change form a bit and become a bit less pronounced, but it's still there, an eternal cord binding your heart and spirit to someone else. When you love someone, you fight for them. You explore all options, and then once depleted, you fight for yourself so that you can regain the strength to rejoin the fight and fight for others once more. That's what I've been doing the last few years, and it has been the most difficult battle I have faced since coming out about being raped and all that followed. You can't give from an empty cup. Carl and I talk about this all the time. You can't give from an empty cup. Carl and I talk about this all the time, yet I still don't think he truly understands. I've always been Carl's number one, and for most of our life together, he was my number one, and I still like to call him my number one. But finally, 2 years ago, after years of various struggles and a whole lot of spiritual experiences and dreams telling me that I was suffocating and that I needed to detach myself, I finally realized I couldn't continue to try to help Carl from an empty cup, and that I needed to be my own number one and to take care of myself and my own needs. It was a profound moment. I heard a voice inside my mind say thank you when I finally decided that I would, in fact, give up the life we've built together if something didn't change. Watching someone you love slowly deteriorate from lack of self-care is the worst, and I just couldn't bear to continue to live with a first row seat watching the person I love most in the world fade away from me and himself. I'm thankful that we haven't given up and are still working on things, but just making that decision for myself, that I would in fact choose my own happiness and take care of myself, was a huge seismic shift for me as a person. And it's a shift I wish more people would make. We need to take care of ourselves and find our own joy so that we can not only give from a full cup, but also so that we can lead and inspire others to do the same by example. If we all took care of our own needs instead of suppressing them, we would have a much happier and healthier world. Instead, we've been programmed to always put other people first, to always think about the comfort of others before our own. Well, if everyone, except obviously those that don't care at all, is always putting other people first and sacrificing their own comfort and self-expression, is anyone actually comfortable? Or are we all just pretending to be okay so we don't rock the boat? When you ask someone how they're doing, do you actually want to know? I want people to be comfortable. I want people to feel safe being and expressing themselves. And damn it, I want people to feel free to love without having to feel guilty or apologize for it. We all have friends and family that differ from us belief-wise. Does that make them a bad person? No. Instead of treating others like the enemy or someone that's uncurable, why don't we just recognize that their heart or soul is wounded in some way, or that they have different experiences and perspectives, and they are the most in need of our love and compassion. Just because someone's 85 doesn't mean they're not still a child in some way. People often forget that we've all had different life experiences that shape our beliefs and values. There's a reason for everything, and a lot of those reasons are trauma and programming, lack of access to healthy, supportive communities, and an enormous lack of love. We all need love in all its forms. The ancient Greeks believed in 8 different types of love. I suspect there are even more, and we all need all of them. Some of my spiritual people talk about cutting energetic ties and cords and such, but personally, I think we need to create more cords of love. We need more connection, and the world needs more love to help it overcome the fear and anxiety that have infected it like a disease. The problems we have as humans and as a society aren't going to be solved by a single party or an election. The only way we're ever going to make things better is to come together as a community and as a human family to talk about, understand, empathize, and brainstorm solutions. Honestly, most of the issues we have wouldn't be so big or dire if people just spent more time with one another, including people that are different, to help build empathy, understanding, and connection. This isn't in my blog, but I just want to say that I want to believe, and I choose to believe, that people want to love one another, but they're afraid of what's different and what they don't understand, and that fear clouds our hearts. Home. It starts at home, but it doesn't end at home, because love knows no bounds. Mother Teresa is credited with saying that. The change we want to see begins at home, but do we even know what home is, and how many of us actually have a home? Right now I have 2 homes, but I often have no idea where home is. Several very different definitions pop up when I look up the meaning of home, and after almost 2 years of being split between multiple homes, I can tell you that home, at least for me, is not the place my body dwells. When I first began to wonder where my home was, I thought, well, maybe home is where the heart is, and I thought, Carl's my home. But right now as I type this, I'm realizing that my home is in my heart. It's not where my heart is. It's not who my heart belongs to. My home, my true soul home, is in my heart, not the organ beating in my chest, but the spirit beating within my soul. When you hear it starts at home, I hope you'll remember that your home and everyone else's is your heart. If you are feeling upset, agitated, or struggling with something or someone, look first to your heart. Examine it, talk to it, ask it why it's upset, and then comfort it by spending time with it and connecting with the hearts of others. We are all one family, one human family, and it's way past time that we started acting like it. You can find this blog post on Carl and my blog, which is carolandcarl.com, Carl with a K. I wrote this and I put it on my blog because it was too long for Facebook, and then I tried sharing it to Facebook and flagged it and removed it, saying there's something wrong with it. What's wrong with this? Why should this be censored? Why is this being censored? You know, if you're a kindred spirit, I would just really like to encourage you to, take these things into consideration. And for the love of God, reach out to me or someone else or an organization and be part of the change that you want to see in the world. The systems that have been put in place for us are flawed and corrupt and devoid of human connection. And we've got to do something about it, or it's just going to get worse.